Hi everybody, I'm just trying to get this to get a proper portion. Okay, make myself a little smaller here. Put it over in this corner. Here we go. Okay. Hi everybody, hope you're having a great day. I'm gonna do the back testing with the signals. And then I'm also gonna go over the open back testing. I feel like that's a good idea. Somebody posted in there the stats from the last couple of weeks. So I just kind of wanted to go over how we all could have gotten those results too. Where is this program? What was the day? Second. Go to the second. Here we go. Okay. That's not what I wanted. Just move it over. There we go. Can I get the computer to work today? So, 305. That would have been this one. So, I mean, pretty easy trade to follow the parameters there. If you had 25 and 50, you would have definitely gotten your pips on that one. I mean, this one looks nice, but it looks like it wasn't in here. 5:30, 6:30. That's all this one. So I guess it was in low volume time, I bet. I bet that was what happened there. So anyways, 6:30 comes. This would have been, you would have had to wait this out. Typically when we do open, we're looking for it to stay on signal, right? This one would have not worked out. That would have been a loss that day. But then, if you would have just come and taken the signal, you could have grabbed your 50-ish pips. Could have grabbed a whole lot more than 50 pips there. This one technically was not on trend though, so you know you could have had a harder time there. So 634. Oh no, that was this one. Okay, my bad. 634. All of the criteria was met. 1047. This one, yeah. Got your 50-ish pips there. Take it a little bit, but it got there. This one says 942. So I mean, normally I don't look at the nighttime ones. So we'll just go to the next day. 12:10. So this would be like if you were trading London and New York, not Asia. So that would have been this one probably. Long. Oh. So, I mean, unfortunately that one just was basically a big liquidity sweep there. So, I mean, that would have been a hard one to trade. You could have maybe got a little bit of pips out of it. 20 pips. Not a very good position. $7.27. Okay, sorry. I just realized I couldn't see the chat. I was like, I don't even know if they're talking. They could be asking me questions. Sorry, guys. Hi. Hi, Jer. Hi, Andrew. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so 727. That was this one. Oh, another deke out. So that sucks. This would have just been a really hard one because these EMAs are so flat. That's like the thing I would say about that. You get 3 big candles all next to each other, it doesn't help. So, I mean, unfortunately, this is just a shitty trade. That's just a shitty one. You could have gotten a couple of pips, but I mean, that would have been hard. You would have had to have entered and protected in like literally 30 seconds. So, let's just say that was a fail. 806. Brutal. Again, EMAs are flat. So, I mean, like, that's still a cruddy one. You would have failed on that one, too. And then we'd all would have been really upset this day. And then it hits your stop loss. Every time hits your stop loss, pushes down a whole ton. So, it was pretty trappy day. Also, though, if you look at these sell signals, because the 238's in the way, it never really gets anywhere. Has this big impulsive candle down, comes retrace back up. So, like, that day sucked. I don't really know what else to tell you on that day. 12:11. You could have tried to take the break of this. Break and retest. But still, that's hard. It's an advanced entry for sure. Because, I mean, if you would have tried it here, you could have caught a couple of pips, but it would have been a hard position still. And then it pushed down all day. So, I mean, you could have entered on a pullback. But that would be a hard morning if you're trying to take the proper signals and every time it ends up being a trap. That's really hard day. The only thing that I can really like say about that is in hindsight, we have a bit of a trend going like this, right? Like you could have a trend line there, but you could also really have a trend line here. So theoretically, maybe we should have been looking for it to stay under the 238 to take a position, retest and have an engulfing under, like something like this, and then a retest but not break of structure up to confirm that we were on our downtrend, since we were making higher lows and lower lows, higher lows, lower lows. But that's just a sad day when you get 2 fully confirmed ones and it just pushes the complete opposite direction the entire day. Okay, so next day, 4th. So a long, that would have been this one. Unfortunately, did the same thing to you. You could have got 25 pips. $6.34. Well, this is off. That doesn't really make any sense. So I'm not sure why it's showing 4 minutes later. Because these are supposed to be on black bull. So I'm not sure. But if we were to take this, you could have got your 50 pips. Could have been hard to enter though. But if you were on the candle after the closure, your TP would have gotten hit pretty quick. Even if you had a bad entry, I mean, you could have still gotten 150 pips out of that one. 828. This one was another trappy one. The best way I could have recommended to stay out of this one was just that we had structure so close. And that it was far from the EMA, like 50 pips from the EMA. So that one could have been a little bit harder. But you could have gotten into profit, protected with your stop loss, and gotten a couple of pips out of that one. But really hard because this is what you're entering at. You're kind of in this like consolidation zone where there's all these huge wicks. So personally, I probably would have been like really hesitant to enter after getting a signal like this, where it's just this big, huge, long wick of the signal after another signal goes into another signal, coming into another signal. This is kind of like a hard place to trade, and typically a time when you think that the structure could be changing. And then depending on your broker, it could have opened up the spread up here just to click up all these liquidities. So that was kind of a harder one to trade, that one. Next day, 12:02. So another hard one, you've gotten 4 signals on all these candles. So in my opinion, that's something you want to stay out of because you're just getting so much different up, down, up, down. You have no confirmations. Like, yes, this says that they all follow, but when you get the market changing down, up, and it's all 4 candles all right beside each other, that's not a confirmation in my opinion. So like this one would have been a way better one. You're getting the breakdown of these structures. You can kind of get this retest to the EMAs. So this is 12:04. So both of these, it's saying both of these up signals followed, right? But how do you trade that? 12:01, 12:02, 12:03, 12:04? Like, that would be so hard. So this one, even though it wasn't with trend, this was the trade that would have given you some pips. And then that's a terrible signal. Came on a wrong colored candle. It's not even in here. 10:11. That would have been this one. So that would have been a great signal following. So even if you entered here and your stop was back here up at the 238, that would have been a good position. Because otherwise, if it was at 25 pips, you would have gotten knocked out. So sometimes you gotta kind of edit things. So we know that the 238 and the 50 EMA are typically the EMAs that are going to protect us in a trade. If we're like this and we're this close to them, you may as well open it up to 50 and go for your 100 pip at that point. And then you can get your 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio. You just want to lower your lot size, because instead of it being 25 and 50, you're 50 and 100. So you're doubling your risk that way. But that would have been a nice signal. Uh, 432. So, shitty trade. That's all that is. It's a really shitty trade. This one just basically it followed the rules, but it did not go that way. So, literally just would have hit your stop. So, that sucks. But again, with this whole like you just had a signal going the opposite direction, now you're getting a signal going this way. Maybe the EMAs are too flat for me to enter. I need to have some other kind of confirmation of it doing something before I'm going to enter. But then we don't get another confirmation that day. And then, oops. This is February 6th. And then this is February 8th. And today is Monday the 9th. So this is like Sunday. So this must have been Friday morning. Now this is Sunday night. So, I mean, not the best week for signals, to say the least. Jay's back testing, I think that he did also wasn't that great. I think this was the best trade out of all of them. But you had to increase your thing a little bit. Okay, so what I wanted to do is go back to the second and just look at market open and see like what it was that we were doing at open. So let's go back to this. Pretend we're ignoring this thing. But, I mean, like, ideally, when we're trading market open during these times, we're just looking to find a way to enter our uptrend, right? And we want to have this at 50 and 50. How do I... per se, right? That's kind of the thing that we're looking for when something like this is happening. Now, another thing I like to put into this is support and resistance. So like, as you can see, these candles are support coming up to this resistance point. So what we're ideally looking for is a pullback first and then getting into our buy position. So say we're waiting. I want to make sure that this goes slow enough. So we're pushing up, we're coming down, right? So now we've put in our buy position. Now that it's pulling back and we're under the 50, now we're looking for it to buy. We put in our position. It tanks. We could be moving it. And then we just hit our profit level. So that's how we could have played out market open this day. Now, in saying that, we see this other position. Now, what that other person put into the chat this last week is that he was testing market open for 100 and 100 on each one of these positions. So if we plugged this into this position, this is what this would have looked like, basically. You would have taken your 100 pips and you would have waited the pullback out. So that's the number one thing that I can always say about open is we're looking for a pullback before we're placing our position. So remember that when you're placing your trade in the morning. leave this, but go back to that day. So now on the 3rd, go to market open. And sorry if I'm rushing through this. I'm just also trying to get this done before Jay gets on, and we've got 20 minutes. So market open. Okay, so remember when I said the support and resistance thing, right? So like ideally we would have been looking for us to go down, right? We're looking for our pullback to enter down. It never actually happened here. It just literally pulled back and kind of just went up, 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 up. So, I mean, you just kind of got to figure out what it is you want to do. Do you want to get into this opposite direction trade, or do you want to wait for the confirmed coming back trade? So had we have just been following the rules that on Monday, just waiting for the pullback to get our entry going on trend, we would have got our trade. But Tuesday, we would have not gotten a trade at all. So your stop loss did not get hit. You just would not have been in a trade because we didn't get our pullback entry. If you would have just entered a sell here a minute before open, then in that case, you would have just hit your stop loss. So no trade on Tuesday. Okay, so 6:30. Well, same kind of thing happened here. Oh, okay, I gotta just send out this notification here. Monday mindset. Forward. Okay. So Monday open, we're gonna sell. If we're waiting for our pullback, we're all the way up here at this point, and we never get a pullback. So the only way to have entered this trade at open that day would have been to follow the signal. And if we decided that we were just also going to try for 100 pips, that's 20. You could have also gotten that if you would have just entered on the signal. So this is one of the times I find trading open to be hard, is when the signal has changed on the minute before open. You know, because like it's like, well, then are you waiting for a pullback, or like are we just going the opposite direction? So like if you were waiting for the sell to come back here, you would have just missed the trade, and then you would have had to wait for the signal, and then that is like changing your bias on the fly. So this is something that you can't just be married to the trade because this is red. But again, this might be a little bit more advanced than for the beginners. It might be harder for the beginners to switch that bias right away when you're in a sell stop right here, and then you have to change your mind and be like, no, I'm going to enter on this signal. This was a fully confirmed signal. So you kind of caught some pips there, depending on what way you were going. Next day, 6:30. Okay, this day would have been harder. Definitely harder to trade. So this is the 6:30 candle. If we were trying to follow the color, enter off the pullback of the EMA, and say you were like this would have been your position basically. Yeah, it says 105, but it's behind the 238. That's one of the main important things that we want with our stop loss when we're trading in the open is stop loss behind the 238. So you would have hit your profit level. You would have not even gone into drawdown here. So great trade. But like contradictory to the two trades the morning before, right? You could have also taken a pullback entry here if you would have been like, okay, it kind of rejected this 238 and it's coming back down under these EMAs. Now I'm going to take it again, you know? And then as you can see, went for like 400 pips. But that was the day that didn't really give us that much of an entry, right? So like, it's interesting how you can take that in mind. This was a nice trade. That 10 o'clock trade that day. Okay, so 6:30. This one just didn't even pull back for us. It just kind of went. So if you think about that like support and resistance thing, we're down here at support. This is the resistance. This is kind of like your pullback to your EMAs for your signal up. So, I mean, there wasn't much of a pullback that day though. You would have had to literally just enter it. So every day these trades kind of change. Like your mentality has to change of like how you want to enter. You kind of have to be adaptable, if you will, based on what the candles are doing and where they are at based on the candles before. So if your position was 100 and 100, you would not have been in any drawdown really, and you would have just hit your TP in a couple of candles. That one also really pushed up that day, so that makes it look like a really small trade. And then we're back at today. So what should we have done at market open today? If we stayed on signal and we waited for the pullback, you would have got your pips. So 8:30 came, went up, tried to test this 238, right? So say you just entered off of this 20 EMA and you were going for 100 pips and your stop loss was up here behind the 238. It could have gotten a little hairy, but if you were at 100 and 100, you would have been fine and you would have got your pips. So I think that's what, one trade there out of the whole week. Let's change this to 15 minutes. You can't see the decisions, it's too small, I guess. So it would have been 300 pips, and 2 days you would have had no position, is what would have happened. So, I mean, it seems like you could probably set your take profit for 100 pips at open and nail it every time. So yeah. So I'm going to stop this stream and I'm going to come back in 15 minutes and stream Jay's Mindset Monday session. So if you guys want to watch it on your own account, awesome. If you want to watch it with me on here, then totally do that. Whatever you want to do. And then if you have questions for me, obviously, shoot me a text. But yeah, thanks for joining me on my backtesting session. I appreciate it. Start setting your TP to 100 pips at market open and make sure your stop loss is at, if it's 100 pips, you're behind that 238. And let's see how our results do for this week. And we'll talk about it again next Monday, like always. Okay, thanks guys for joining me, and I'll